2 minggu lepas ada kawanku cerita kan, we were having breakfast after kami berlari with Weekend Pacers Sunday Social. We were at Iskandar Curry House di One Riverside. And then kawan-kawan ni bercerita lah, ia ada come across si Liana Yus punya Threads. Threads, the app yang macam Twitter tapi made by Instagram, pasal amahnya lari or something. And I was just thinking to myself how unfortunately this is a common occurrence amongst Bruneians, especially with Indonesian maids, or at least banyak yang aku nampak reports arah Borneo Bulletin saying like, maids gone missing or ran away from their employer's home is, kebanyakannya amah Indonesia lah. And, I was like, I'm so glad this never happened to me, because I can only imagine the stress of like, dealing with the whole process and documentations, having to report them being missing to the balai and then contacting the embassy and then balik tiket orang untuk balik apa, it's a lot. And then sekali nah, literally last week, and I think baru yesterday kali, last week lah this happened. Our family went through something like that. Our amah went missing overnight, but malas ko panjang-panjang cerita, pokoknya alhamdulillah esoknya ia timbul balik semula. But she did something that broke our trust, and even she admitted to it, so both sides mutually agreed to terminate her contract and send her back. Tapi tadi masa when I had brunch with my mom, so today kan to, so last night she actually went to the airport with my sister to send our amahani balik to the airport lah. And then ia cakap lah like our amahani ia menangis minta maaf, and then sebenarnya she's actually good, especially to my sister's kids. She didn't do anything like on the worst side. I know it sounds dramatic, so but just to give you context, she broke our trust in a sense where she wasn't fully honest about some stuff lah. But I can assure you it's not like macam she actually do it ka ataupun she was abusive to my niece and nephew. She's actually really good with kids and she really loves them and they also love her. But she finally apologized to my sister and my mom, and dorang macam, "Ba, Ani, if you still want to come back and work, we welcome you with open arms." And I'm like, "Bo, are you serious? After what she's done, I'm never gonna let her come into our house." But that's just me having like trust issues, but also worried about like my mom's safety job. But anyway, it's really up to my sister and my mom. I rarely have any say when it comes to these things. Sayang lah, ikut nasib, I guess. Some people kana amah yang bisai, some kana yang baula. Kalau kana amah yang bisai, ya punya majikan tu pulang yang abusive. Benar-benar just ikut nasib and rezeki masing-masing. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Izzy Does It. If you're new here, Izzy Does It is a podcast that hosts deep and meaningful conversations, and we talk about almost everything under the sun as long as it doesn't land me in prison. And sometimes I talk about certain topics with a guest and sometimes solo. And as you can see, it's just me this week. Or if you're listening, it's just me this week. But don't worry, we'll be back with a new episode minggu depan with a guest, and I'm pretty excited for it, not just because of who I am talking to, but also because it's our first sponsored episode. Alhamdulillah, finally. So stay tuned. In this solo episode, I want to talk about the Cigu Adi episode. Now, Cigu Adi's episode, alhamdulillah, was a massive success on so many levels. If I'm being completely honest, I did not expect it to be that successful, specifically in terms of views lah, right? As of this recording, the episode is sitting on 14,000 views. 14,000 views. That's insane. So on behalf of Cigu Adi and the Izzy Does It team, from the very bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to us. And if you haven't seen it, stop this video or pause it, go watch it, and then come back, because I want to discuss with you some of the topics that were being brought up in the episode, which is why I felt strongly that I wanted to have a solo session with you this week. Okay, before I dive into the discussion, I want to quickly share with you how I personally measure an episode's success, right? So as I mentioned today, Cigu Adi punya episode currently has 14,000 views. That's incredible. It's amazing, but what's also fantastic is the number of topics, discussions, and conversations that episode has sparked. And this is something I want to emphasize, not just to you, the Cozy Gang, and our listeners, but also to future guests, right? Pasalnya whenever I invite someone, kamu, come on, Izzy does it, let me talk to you about some stuff. Or whenever I invite someone, hey, I would like to talk to you on the podcast, usually I would get the response of like, oh, ada kapal terbang melintas. Let's wait for that. Alhamdulillah, the kapal has safely arrived in Brunei. Where was I? Oh yeah, and usually the response I would get is, not all the time, but mostly, mau orang melihat kan tu, kadang nada banyak orang melihat, or like macam, what story do I have to share? Mau orang mendengarkan tu. And I understand the concern 100%, right? Because ever since Izzy Does It sort of became mainstream, you can see how many views there are on YouTube. It's open for everyone to see. But for me, if I ask you to come on Izzy Does It, that means there's something about you that I'm interested to know about. And I would assume that the things that I'm curious about, other people will be curious about you too. Or I feel like your story deserves to be heard by people. Not the whole population will share the same feeling, but who cares? It's okay. I believe like some stories are meant to reach certain people only, but there are some stories that can reach like a wider audience. And for Izzy Does It, like I'm okay either way. Whether you as my guest, you're a suggestion from a Cozy Gang member, or like, the Google form that I like tell everyone to like, tell me who you want to have on, or it's from a friend who suggests to me, oh, you should invite this or that, or maybe I've been observing you from afar and I want to get to know you more, know about your story. I hope that's a good enough reason for you to say yes, and just have fun with me. Like, I'd like to think like it's fun when people sit down with me and have a chat. For an example, if an episode gets maybe like just 5 views, but I feel good about talking to my guest. I feel good about the conversation. I feel like I've learned something, and I believe that it will bring value to whoever's listening. Then it's a win for me. I'm not gonna lie, having a considerable amount of views and likes for an episode does feel good, and it 100% can help the show reach a wider audience and even expose Izzy Does It to more opportunities, right? But ultimately, I created Izzy Does It for me first. So whoever is willing to give me their time and press play are more than welcome to come along. I still consider this period of Izzy Does It as day 1. My day 0 are my solo podcasting days, and this is my day 1 when I'm starting to have guests on and more people are finding out about the show, because podcasting it's still a niche ba in Brunei. So I'm honestly really glad to have any number of views, pabaik sikit. And especially in this time and age when attention is getting shorter and shorter, so long form content consumers are very rare. So I'm very thankful to have you here. And if you think about it that way, doesn't that make it feel more special and unique? Like, I feel like we have a deeper relationship. It's more exclusive because it's not mainstream. At least not in Brunei lah. The trailer for Cigu Adi, or I should say the episode itself, Joa, it reached a lot of people. 14,000 people to be specific. And I think especially on TikTok, banyak comments, DMs I received from people saying they experienced the same situation or felt the same way when Cigu Adi said ya malu, ya kan dantar sekolah agama by his dad in an old car. I'll talk about a comment I received on TikTok juga pasal bapanya. Pasal orang yang mengomen ni katanya ya malu every time bapanya antar or ambil ya balik sekolah pakai that truck membuang sampah. So I was like thinking about it, like Cigu Adi allowed himself to be vulnerable and so brave in sharing his story, and a lot of people could relate to it, or kalau in the relate pun macam they feel touched. And this is the power of vulnerability. It opens up a space for people to also share their stories. When I was recording that episode with Cigu Adi, when I was sitting there listening to his cerita kan, it never crossed my mind that ada orang lain juga experience the same thing. So that's why the effect of the episode is like truly amazing. It made people reflect and share their stories too, which is why I wanted to have this solo session with you. Now, I want to share with you a feedback that I received from one of you. The episode of Izzy Does It with Cigu Adi is a breath of fresh air. Made me feel all sorts of emotions after routinely consuming short TikToks every day. It made me be human. For once in a long time, it made me think of how privileged my family and I are, how we are not that susah actually. I stayed for the whole hour of the podcast at 11 p.m. just before bed and had tears rolling down my eyes. Also felt like a warm hug seeing two highly empathetic guys having such a meaningful and eye-opening conversation, not just some random cerita kosong. Overall, I really appreciate this episode and applaud everyone involved from the start until the video hit upload. Shout out to Wafik and Azim for being there with me as well, and also obviously to Cigu Adi. So one of the things I want to talk about is the part when Cigu Adi shared his frustrations pasal unemployment, right? So he went to Kupu SB and then expecting to have a job waiting for him after he graduates. And it turns out the complete opposite. And I can definitely tell you, I hear a lot of these stories where people work so hard throughout their academic years, even went on to scholarships, but when they come back or when they graduate, there's nothing there for him. So last dorang paksa look for like odd jobs or take whatever that comes their way. Similar to Cigu Adi's case, like he had to work odd jobs while waiting for a stable paying job that matches his academic qualification, or at least a job that almost matches his academic qualification. I don't know what you thought about that part when he talked about yang ia keraja di Kadaruncit and his responsibility was to susun barang dalam kedai itu and then drive across Brunei in a manual car. And he thought that the amount he was getting paid for in selaku 400 was not worth it. And before you asked me, he never told me what this kadaruncit was. I don't know. Because I saw some of the comments that someone figured out what this kadaruncit is, but I don't know. And I don't really care. Honestly, when he shared that part, I was just a tiny bit worried because I assume some people would say like, oh, aku kena bayar far lesser than 400, but I have to do more, you have to suck it up, blah, 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 blah. In other words, I was worried that people might think Cigu Adi is entitled. But I'm so relieved no one said that. And for my part, I completely understand Cigu Adi's point of view because like I said, right, you studied so hard and then in the end, you had to resort to a job that is paying you far lesser than you would want to. If you think that is an entitled behavior, I think let's try to see it from like another POV where I actually appreciate that Cigu Adi knows his worth and that he did not settle. Because lain cerita kalau Cigu Adi actually enjoyed that kadaruncit job and he is happy with what he's getting paid for, then that's fine. But if you're not happy in a situation, especially in a job, and then you're getting paid a really low amount of salary and you have to do this and that is like so detrimental to your entire existence because that's not what you're meant to do in life. You're not meant to be miserable doing something that you don't like. Getting paid like a low amount of salary, it's just not worth getting out of bed for, I feel like, and yes, I understand some people might say, oh, that sounds so privileged, but I mean, it is what it is, right? It's all about your mindset. If you feel like you deserve more, then go strive for something better. It's different when you're working in a startup, right? You will definitely get paid like a low salary. But the more the company grows, the more you'll earn because you grow along with the company. So, atu lain lah cerita. In this case, like Cigu Adi, he definitely wanted something stable. He definitely wanted to do something that at least aligns with what he went to study for and something that he invested his years of his life for. One of you shared a personal experience and it says here, masa 2009-2010, aku ngambil kursus komputer and pengendalian pejabat. Lepas graduate, aku expect kena ambil ni keraja jadi kerani office, baik government ataupun swasta. Tapi payah jua benar. Even keraja arah kata runcit dulu jadi cashier. Awal-awal aku fikir mungkin Anita kerajaku selamanya. Sekali kan Alhamdulillah ada IBTE promo course Office Administration and aku pun excited. Without hesitation, aku apply. Pasal that time jiwa muda masih mau belajar and aku indah berfikir panjang like after graduation apa akan terjadi. Go with the flow saja. Lepas 3 tahun belajar, aku attachment arah one of the government sector and somehow terus kena offer gaji hari sana. After 5 years, aku pindah kerja tempat sektor swasta as a kerani and up until now, aku masih kerja arah sektor swasta. Alhamdulillah. Yes, aku ada apply arah PSC recruitment aka SPA tapi aku tidak mau lagi berharap benar arah kerajaan since I'm happy where I am right now. However, in the future, if kena offer dari kerajaan, I will accept. Yeah, a lot of people still see government sector as a stable career option. Just make sure that when you do get a job in the government sector, and I'm saying you, not just this person who comments, but you in general, if you or when you get a job in the government sector, ingatkan amanah bekerja tu untuk memajukan negara dan bangsa and not just makan, gaji buta. I'm not generalizing, but I'm just like, I'm saying it as an advice. Now, this brings me to the next topic. I'm curious how many teachers have heard this, students who have expressed that they want to become content creators. In this age of social media influencers, I really want to know that, is that really a revelation to some people or is that something that we should have seen coming? In the West, it's probably normalized because we see or hear a lot of like success stories, kids dropping out of school to become content creators and they're actually successful. But yet the obviously success stories are highlighted more than unsuccessful stories. Here in Brunei, you don't really hear a lot of content creators making like that much money. There are some, obviously. Most content creators here in Brunei usually do it part-time or that's not their main income, that they have different streams of income and they really have to hustle for it. There are a few content creators here that I know that do it full-time, but that's still not something that parents are comfortable with letting their kids see as a career choice. And honestly, I see how I view this whole situation about like content creation being an option for like a career path. It's reflective of our current economy. I was surprised. I'm going to share with you the answers that you wrote to me when I asked on Instagram if this is something that parents and teachers are comfortable with or how they will respond to their kids if their kids tell them they want to become influencers or content creators. Okay, actually, maybe let me just read this, Dula. Okay, so one of you said, gamers, influencers, etc. as a career. For me, it's not wrong for them aiming to be all of the above, but education and adab are still important. I mean, they have to think what kind of influencers or gamers they want the public to remember them as. Problematic, educated, rude, nice, stupid. Because being someone who constantly share their content to the public, they have to be careful of what they want to post, the way they talk, treat people, etc. They will represent themselves, but also their family, work, and even country. You would want to stay in the industry for long term, of course. And a good example would be Carol Aming. I agree. Another comment said, being a content creator is exciting, but prioritizing education is still important. I agree. It helps develop a mature mind for better decision making and handling challenges responsibly. Education also boosts creativity by exposing you to new ideas and perspectives, allowing you to create meaningful and original content. Oh, I like that one. Another comment, content creator is a job somehow in this era. And in order for you to excel in a job in general, you have to have good knowledge and good adab. Be educated, yet at the same time have a good attitude too. Fill your knowledge about dunya and also akhirah. I don't mind if my children are to be content creators for as long as it makes them happy and content. But they have to balance out the good of dunya and akhirah also. Know what is halal and what is haram in every little thing they do as content creators to generate halal and barakah income for their generation. Okay, that's fair. Another comment. Teacher here, not a parent yet. For me, I would support them even if they want to be influencers, content creators, asalkan baik and tantu. Paling penting masih tahu boundaries and beradab. So having adab is a common trait that I'm receiving from you, which is true, Pulang, Another one, the last one. As parents of teenagers, I don't really encourage them to be content creators or influencers, but if they really like it and ready not to give up halfway, I'm okay with it. As long as they are into it and really do it well, I mean, they will be okay. Inshallah, they will be okay. But it does amaze me sometimes. Nowadays, it's a job, and as long as hindi menyusahkan parents lah, syukur alhamdulillah as side income. By the way, I edited some of the comments grammatically just so that it's easier for everyone to understand. Yeah, the comment today tu macam kesian pulang because it sounds like the parent is assuring themselves that it's going to be okay and that they're willing to be supportive if that's what their children really wants to do, despite not encouraging it in the first place. But yeah, I think it's okay to be open about like referring to the last comment I read. Katanya sini, as long as they're into it and not ready to give up halfway, I think it's okay for us to, or parents, teachers, it's okay to be open about if your kids or students decide to change their mind. Like macam when I asked Cigu Adi, he's teaching secondary students now, right? And these secondary students yang beritahu ke dia yang dorang kan jadi gamers, influencers. When I was in secondary, I didn't even know what I wanted to do yet. And I didn't foresee myself being in the film industry. Like I didn't foresee myself having a media production company, So what I'm trying to say is don't freak out when your kids tell you they want to be this, they want to be that. It will change. It will change, and if they eventually become that pun, okay wa masay. I'm just saying like maybe not be too reactive when they say that they want to be this and that. Because they still have a long way to go, and sometimes we all need to try and see if something is for us. Because it's easier to know what we don't want than to know what we want. And the more we take risks, the more adventurous we are, the more we are able to try out different things, the more we know what we don't want, and hopefully that will bring us closer to knowing what we want to do or something that's like meant for us. Like especially for kids, like I said, they still have a long way to go. So don't let their current thoughts and ambitions scare you to the point where you inject fear in them. Let them believe that they are capable of doing whatever they set their mind to and achieve greatness. And there's nothing wrong for you to also let them know that no matter what they choose to become, or no matter what career path they choose to strive for, let them have at the back of their mind that everything will come with its own sets of challenges, which is why when I say, and I agree when people say like education is still very important, regardless of what ambition your kids and students want to do, core values satu yang paling penting. Having a strong foundation of like their dignity, their attitude, their traits, atau what are their values? What values are you instilling in your kids, right? Because children are very sensitive to what their parents and teachers say to them. These two figures are the most important figures in children's lives. So it's our responsibility to ensure we say the right things and be open about also not having the answers. I don't know why some parents and teachers have this pressure to have all the answers when kids ask you difficult questions. I think our children's, it's okay for our children. Did I just say our children's? Oh my God, no. I think it's okay for us to let our children know that adults are also figuring things out. A comment says here, as Bruneians, we need to shift our mindset as we grow. Many of us may not realize it, but negative words and attitudes can have a lasting impact on our daily lives, even to ourselves as adults, right? So instead of resisting change, let's encourage one another to be open-minded to accept, adapt, and grow together. Keyword here is adapt. You don't know in 5 years' time what the landscape, the economical landscape will be. Who knows? Maybe social media entrepreneurs are not in anymore. But what do I know now is that a lot of people are going into entrepreneurship. I think the point of this part pasal students kan jadi content creators or influencers. And I think just be open-minded. And I'm surprised, like I said tadi, I'm surprised that most people are encouraging, or maybe people yang against it nda berani kan send their comments pulang. Tapi I really wanted to hear both sides, parents and students who are okay with it, and parents and students who are not okay with it. And I want to know why, because it's okay to have like a civil discussion. Another topic that came about in Cigu Adi's episode is when he shared about how he was embarrassed getting sent to Ugama school in his father's old car. Like I said tadi, that made a lot of people share their experiences and feelings too. This can be further categorized into what we call shame culture. Shame as in malu. So, shame in driving old cars, shame in unconventional career paths such as tukang buang sampah. There's no doubt that there's a huge shame culture here in Brunei, and I guess anywhere around the world. I received this one comment from you that says, I can relate to this because pernah malu jua orang mamaku. There were a few times when I wrote my mom's occupation as a clerk kalau biodata sekolah ada, and I kept changing it. I would never let her do it. I think she actually worked as buruh. But yeah, when I think about it now, I hate myself. Menyesal na berguna rasanya. I'm glad that this was brought up in a podcast because I thought it was just me yang malu orang parents sendiri back then. I wish I could understand the love of my parents toward me since I was young as 6 to 7 years old. Pasal mengisi borangan ni kan, I remember filling in a form back in secondary school. I am not sure untuk apa, tapi there is a field that asks what my parents' occupation was and even ask how much they earn. So, can we stop that? Like benda-benda aku ingat untuk apa? Maybe untuk jual insurance kali or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I think schools should be extra vigilant and careful when allowing third-party entities come to your school asking for personal and private information from students, especially about their parents. Now, I really cannot remember if it was the sekolah yang bertanya or it was like some other persons or organizations yang ke sekolah and then have these sessions. Another comment here said, grew up with friends who rode in luxury cars while my parents could only afford ordinary car brands. I wasn't exactly bothered by it, but during school pickups, I would feel slightly embarrassed. Hindi tahu dari mana rasa comparison ato, padahal my family income was more than enough. It's not like we were struggling a lot, but can't help feel inferior. I just want to let you know that, yeah, obviously you feel so bad about feeling this way as a kid, especially about your parents, especially when you grow up and you realize how hard your parents work for you as a kid, just to put food on the table, just to be able to send you to school. If you read the TikTok comments on Cigu Adi punya trailer and the clips kan, banyak tu orang share yang pasal they feel really bad about feeling embarrassed for their parents, tapi now macam they're happy because they're able to give back and that they are thankful for their parents. If you have the opportunity to apologize to your parents, I guess it's okay to just apologize. Tapi I don't want you to hold on to that guilt because you were just a kid, apa tahu mu? Yeah, it was a shitty behavior. You feel ungrateful and stuff like that. But if you see it in a positive light, it gives you an opportunity now to acknowledge and to realize how much your parents loved you and how hard they worked for you. So now that you have the feeling of appreciation and gratitude towards your parents, and I think that's still a positive thing. And yeah, if you have the opportunity, apologize to your parents. Tapi kalau hindi, I'm pretty sure your parents understood kau pun damit je masa tama tu. What you wouldn't have known better. So I shared a comment that I received on TikTok pasal ada this person who comment, ia bercerita lah pasal ia malu bapanya mengantar mengawal ke dia in a the sampah truck, right? And I posted on Instagram, and then I attached a quote because this quote, I remember I heard it dari damit sudah. And yeah, my mom might have said it to me, but or a teacher, I can't remember. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a normal thing to say back then or even now, So basically the quote is like, oh, belajar tak bisa-bisa karang jadi karang you end up mutik sampah terpulang. Obviously now that we're all grown, I'm pretty sure we all realize like that was not a good thing to say. All right. So many of you shared how you felt about this, and I'm just going to read the feedback that I received. The first comment says, I remember feeling scared listening to this, and funnily, this exact quote was said by a teacher circa 90s. Why scared? Because it does work on me. I don't want to end up as tukang putik sampah dulu tu. So belajarlah benar-benar pasal kena takuti. Siapa yang dah belajar benar-benar, karang dah belajar kena ucap jadi cleaner or putik sampah biar gajinya damit, susah berpanas, tiring, suck up your energy faster, etc., etc. And then because of that, suddenly the career become in the bike or not an ideal choice. So as a student, takut na mangalami experience siya to, end up lah belajar benar-benar, and just want to share, katanya, there's this cleaner that I know, she managed to umrah balik-balik, I think almost every year she goes. And I find it inspiring and motivating. Yang kami bagaji, more ani pulang payahkan umrah every year. So it's all about our mentality and mindset. I wish kana ajar semua career ani baik. Selagi ya halal and mengajar kita ni bersyukur and humble you down. Bukannya selective career saja. I agree. One of you said, no, not okay at all. The tone is so condescending. In the salah keraja sebagai tukang buang sampah, all we can do is just tell our kids to belajar benar-benar so we can help people like them. Without dorang ani, nada kawasan tani bersih. Just wish more people have empathy and common sense. Adab ani paling utama. Okay, I just want to note, I receive a lot of comments saying that parents telling their children about like, oh, kalau nada tukang putik sampah apa bersih, we will live in a nasty world, or macam as in kamahlah dunia ni kalau nada dorang. Okay. Again, this is a safe space. I don't want to judge how you explain this to a younger child, but I don't know. I don't have the answers on how better to address this, right? Maybe ada kali I'll read more after this. Tapi my opinion is that it's also very important to know, especially the younger generation, the next generation, our legacy, that keeping our place, our home, our environment clean is a universal responsibility. It's our responsibility to clean up after ourselves, to flush after you take a dump or pee, to wash your hands. After that, to buang sampah or clean up the desk after you makan in a restaurant or in a fast food restaurant. Yeah, it's everyone's responsibility. Another comment says, I never once said that to my teens. Alhamdulillah, both the kids do appreciate them every time they come and remove our rubbish. Saying thank you to them is a blessing. Never ever said that. We never know pada masa akan datang macam mana keadaan sorang-sorang. Yeah. Back in Oman, I came across an Indian man collecting rubbish and he speaks good English. I was wondering and asked him back his education background because of his fluent English. He said he had masters in chemical engineering and tried his luck in Oman. Wow. I wonder what his story is. One comment that I want to share, I think this is the last comment in regards to this topic. Sebenarnya hal ini diterapkan dengan mindset rezeki halal dan berkah. No matter apa pekerjaan tadi. Yang paling susah dicari dalam hidup ini, walaupun bergaji besar kah, rendah kah, adalah ketenangan hidup. That's true. Kalau tenang, apapun masalah yang menimpa, selesai dengan jayanya. Struggle itu andang lumrah dalam hidup, tapi menjalaninya memang mengikut keadaan kita ni. So to say that belajar tak benar-benar supaya nak mutik sampah, Alum ia tahu yang mutik sampah itu paling banyak simpanan duitnya yang membolehkan ia membeli kereta untuk anak-anaknya. And surprise, surprise, Allah indah memandang pangkat ni kalau bab rezeki. Allah lihat niat di hati kita ni. keraja jadi kuli kah, apakah menjalani ia punya tanggungjawab, menjalani tanggungjawab sebagai hamba Allah, insyaAllah rezeki di mana-mana mengalir. That is true. So I do hope like whoever is listening to this episode, right? I do hope now we are more careful with what we say. And I want to preface this by saying, oh, not preface, sorry. This is a disclaimer that we're not perfect. Sometimes we say things that we don't mean. Sometimes we say things in the heat of the moment. And sometimes, unfortunately, there are things that we say that we can't take back. But there's always opportunity to clarify what we mean or reframe what we said. Oh, hey, masa tu aku dah ucap sianu-siani. Now I feel differently. And I think it's okay. That's why I want to have conversations like this. To act as reminders that when we slip, let's take that back and, remind your friend or remind your parents or remind your colleagues, remind your peers, and most importantly, maybe remind yourself that, I need to change my perspective on this and that. So that's the whole point of, having conversations like this. For people who are living a different life than ours, sometimes this is just my thoughts, right? Why are some people being shamed for living the simple life? For living within their means. Like, what if their definition of luxury is simply having a family to come home to and being able to feed them with their hard-earned money, regardless of dorang punya occupation? Just because some of us live in luxury, it doesn't mean that we should want the same for them unless you're willing to give them the money, right? So maybe it's better for some people to not know about this world of luxury so that they can be grateful for what truly matters. Like one comment tadi tu kan, katanya ia pembersih tu, ia umrah every year. It's because she kan tu kata? Yeah, the cleaner is a she. It's because she isn't into these materialistic items that most people who can afford it are into. You know what I'm saying? So she puts in her money to what truly matters to her. And again, I'm not judging if you like to collect like Hermes or Louis Vuitton, like that's up to you, right? But I'm saying that ito tu, ada hikmahnya in each and everyone's rezeki. The cleaner that you see may not have luxury bags, but she's able to perform Hajj or Umrah every single year. And that's what she's meant to do. Let's all try to be less judgmental, especially when seeing people who work so hard. Macam jadi pembersih, jadi orang mutik sampah or putong rumput. We don't know. We don't know what their story is. Sometimes it's a choice, sometimes it's not a choice, And who knows, right? One day, for example, I wrote this here and I really want to include it in this episode. Like, what if one day your kid could revolutionize the system for membuang sampah? Like, come up with an app like Grab or Uber, tapi untuk membuang sampah. And so that the people who work there can monetize from it, So that's a good idea, I hope someone is able to do that. But you just never know. Macam, never restrict yourself or your kid from any type of job. The world is ever evolving. We are heading quite fast into the digital world, social media. It's a scary place, but also exciting. I think that's all I have for today. I plan to do solo sessions every now and then. If you're a recent listener, you might not know that I actually started off doing solo episodes talking about various topics before I started having guests on. And I really used to enjoy that. And I want to bring it back. I know there will be more views and likes on sit-down interviews. But, like I said earlier, if I'm happy with the outcome of an episode, especially a solo episode, when we recap and reflect on the previous episodes or talk about like specific topics, like I'm happy with it. It's a win. And before I leave, I want to share this one comment that I received from you, one of you. Allahu Akbar, bila setiap manusia diuji dengan ujian masing-masing. Yang pasti sesungguhnya Allah tidak akan mengubah nasib sesuatu kaum sehingga mereka mengubah apa yang ada pada diri mereka sendiri. Surah Ar-Ra'd ayat 11. I'm so proud of Cigu Adi and family. This podcast can be motivation for people out there. Jangan pernah terfikir kesusahan diri atau ujian Allah bagi masa ini lebih sakit diuji. Sebenarnya ujian itu hanya sementara. Entah ni dah tahu ada lagi orang di luar sana lebih berat ujiannya, tetapi tetap bersabar. So tetap bersangka baik to Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala because He knows what's best for us. Bersyukurlah Allah bagi kita ujian. Itu tanda Ia sayang pada hambanya, and Allah mahu kita tahu bahawa Allah sentiasa ada untuk hambanya. Setiap ujian pasti ada kegembiraan. Itulah roda kehidupan kita ni di dunia. Jadi buatlah yang terbaik pada kehidupan masing-masing, dan semoga kepada yang diberi ujian diberikan kemudahan untuknya, dan setiap kesakitan Allah berikan kesembuhan berserta rahmat dan berkahnya. Amin amin ya rabbal alamin. Ikhlas dari The Quiet Sip. Thank you so much The Quiet Sip for sharing this beautiful message, and I'm so glad I'm able to share it with you guys. If you have reached this far, thank you so much for listening. A new episode drops next week. I'm so excited for it. I hope to see you there. Assalamualaikum. Bye.